folks, Mike Dawkins from Worldcast Anglers here with your Jackson Hole weekend fly fishing forecast for the weekend of July 10th and 11th. We hope you had a great 4th of July weekend last weekend. Some good fishing, good times out on the water with family, friends, loved ones, fishing buddies, all the above. I know that I did, and I hope that you guys did too. I'm out here at Big Eddy on the Teton River here in Teton Valley. We're starting to see some smoke in the air. It's not that surprising knowing how dry and drought-ridden the west is. We normally start to see smoke in the air in conditions like this probably mid-August, sometimes the beginning of August. So like I said, it's not that surprising to see conditions like this, but the timing is definitely early. As you've probably seen all over the news, that the entire west is drought-ridden. We're not as bad as certain areas of like our friends in Utah, our friends in central Idaho, in some areas of California and Oregon and some things like that. We're still in not great shape, but not horrible shape. Our fishing is holding up really well, but we're starting to see some of our freestones like the Teton, you know, some areas like the Salt, some areas like the Henry's Fork and some other things start to see the effects of our lower than average precip that we received during the spring and our above average temperatures that we're starting to see this summer, which we'll get into later into our fishing forecast. Saturday looks like 88 and 53. Sunday's a scorcher, 92 and 56. Our 10-day forecast looks hot and dry. You're probably gonna get tired of me saying that, but that's the reality of what we're seeing right now in the Rocky Mountain West, especially in the Jackson Hole and Teton Valley areas. Last week we had some rain and some afternoon thunderstorms. We had a little bit of that yesterday, but not enough to really make a difference and give us the reprieve that we need. Jackson Lake's 82%, Palisades Reservoir 78%. So the picture that I'm trying to paint with these reservoir levels is every week they're getting lower. We're coming into, you know, sort of that mid-July time frame where we're starting to see inflow into those reservoirs really be below the outflow that they're coming out. So for example, inflow into Jackson Lake is around 200 to 300 CFS up there by Flag Ranch, and discharge 5,160 CFS. So the outflow is definitely overtaking the inflow, so we're going to start to see our reservoirs really drop over time. The South Fork of the Snake over there in Swan Valley, we saw those flows increase to 15,500 coming out of Palisades Dam, 15,400 there around Heise below Byington. Salmon flies are out. They're thick. In the years that I have lived here, I can't really remember a hatch with that many bugs and the fish really keen into them, whether it's on the surface or a lot of subsurface activity. The fish that we're catching are really fat and thick and filled out where they've been gorging themselves on those salmon fly nymphs. If you've noticed driving back from Idaho Falls or the Heise area, you're starting to hit salmon flies on the highway, on Highway 26 there, which to me you see every once in a while, but we see them really thick. So these consistent water flows, the consistent water temperature, and this early clarity, everything being on that consistent level is giving us a salmon fly hatch that is one for the books, and the fishing is really good. The thing that we're noticing is a lot of the banks, a lot of those riffles, and a lot of those areas are cooking, and they are hot with 15,500 CFS. So get ready to row and row hard, but also be ready to get in those side channels, get in those recircs, get in those areas where you can get multiple casts, you can get multiple drifts, and you're gonna be successful. We're seeing a leftover green drake or two. Our PMDs are coming on strong. Our yellow sallies are coming on strong. We're still seeing some caddis, especially in the evenings. So fishing's good on the South Fork, and it is good in traditional summertime fashion. We normally start to see the salmon flies up there on the upper section of the South Fork where they are now, right around 4th of July. You know, it's right around July 9th. So pretty much on schedule for the South Fork of the Snake. The Snake in Jackson on the other side of the Tetons there, 5,160 CFS coming out of Jackson Lake Dam, 7,770 CFS. They're going into Palisades Reservoir before the Salt and the Grays. We saw some flow increases coming out of Jackson Lake Dam as well. Keep in mind that these flow increases aren't to make room. The flow increases are that consumptive water users and agricultural purposes are calling for water downstream. Most likely they want to get water in American Falls, and American Falls is the lowest it's been in a long time. The Snake and Jackson's fishing and beginning to fish on all cylinders. All angling methods have been really productive. Dry dropper fishing, nymphing, single dry fly fishing with attractors, PMDs, caddis, goldens, drakes, and things like that has been really good. But very similar to the South Fork, 5,160 CFS coming out of Jackson Lake Dam is a lot of water, and it's a lot of water for this time of year. So get ready to row, get ready to hold your buddies on the fishing banks, get ready to get in any of those little nooks and crannies, those areas, you know, that I like, the beginning of islands, the areas of confluences and seam lines below islands. Anywhere that you can get out of that just ripping hot water is going to be good for your success in fishing. The droppers, we're seeing our guides coming back grabbing bigger, heavier droppers that will sink quick and stay in the strike zone and stay in the fish's eyes more frequently than some of our more traditional droppers, and that is just a product of the flows that we're seeing. The Teton behind me, 230 CFS up here near Driggs, 732 CFS there on the lower river. We've been preaching the watch your water temps. Now's about the time that we're starting to see some of those water temps on the lower Teton really get into those thresholds above 67 degrees that aren't friendly for our trout friends. So if you're going down there, fish early, don't fish late, get your work done early, get off early, use heavy tippets, heavy leaders, land your fish quickly, don't even bring them out of the water, and get them back in there. The fishing down there has been pretty good with leftover dry dropper fishing and streamer fishing. Up here in the valley, flows really tanked and really dropped like a rock after our runoff stopped. 230 CFS is usually something that we normally see in August. PMD fishing has been really good. Yellow Sally fishing has been really good. And our caddis and some of those leftover drake and attractor fishing has been really good. But we're starting to get on those thresholds up here where you're going to want to be on the water early and get off the water early. We've already seen, you know, some fish not doing very well because of the warmer water temps and the lower water temps. And as I said earlier, it's up to us as anglers to be on the lookout for our trout friends. So carry a thermometer, take multiple water temps during the day. If it gets too warm, stop. Hang out with some friends. Just know, maybe next year is a different year. Maybe we're going to have a bigger water flow next year, and our trout friends are going to definitely take advantage of those beneficial conditions, but we shouldn't take advantage of them and these non-beneficial conditions, because it's up to us as anglers. The Henry's Fork north of here, 1,640 CFS coming out of the box, 2,800 CFS there on the lower river. The box is starting to have some clarity issues because we're starting to see water come out of both the turbine and hydroelectric side and the dam side. Some of that has settled out a little bit, but we're seeing some turbidity issues there, and that's sort of trickling down into the ranch and some of those other areas. Dry dropper fishing on the box, has still been really good with golden stones and green drake or drake, brown drake parachutes, perdigons, bullet quills, any of those Duracells, those tactical jig nymphs that are heavy and not dressed very heavily that can get down really quick. Streamer fishing has been really good, but similar to the Teton up here, the box can be a really busy place with recreational users, so we recommend really early in the morning or really late in the evening. The ranch has been challenging, not necessarily on a fishing side of things, but conditions-wise. 1,640 CFS coming out of the box canyons, a lot of water in the ranch, and to be honest, I don't know many fish that are going to want to come up and eat a dry fly through that water column with that water ripping so hard. People are finding fish, they're scratching them out, they're digging them up. Leftover brown drakes and green drakes, caddis, PMDs, the occasional Sally, long leaders, light tippets, traditional ranch style, but have your, be on the lookout for even softer water than you think that you need up there right now with these abnormal flows. The lower river, it's on that watch your water temp, you know, alert, as well as the lower Teton. We still have some guys fishing it here and there. Early morning has still been really good before those water temps get up there. Leftover PMDs, we're starting to see some small hoppers and terrestrials start to come into play. But once again, land your fish quick, use stronger leaders and thicker tippets than you think that you need. Keep those fish in the water, be off the water early as well. If you're curious about any of these water temps, the Henry's Fork Foundation and the South Fork Initiative on their resources webpage has some really good information on sondes that they have installed on numerous sites on the South Fork and numerous sites on the Henry's Fork that give you real-time data. So if you are curious about, you know, the water temps in the areas that you're fishing and you don't have a thermometer, which you should this year, and this year most importantly, check out that website, and that'll give you sort of more of a framework of what we're talking about with these water temps, where you'll start to see them cool in the morning, hot in the afternoon, evening, and do the wave of, you know, the temperature sway as summer sort of progresses. Our creeks and tributaries are still fishing really good. You know, South Fork of the Snake tributaries are open. Teton River tributaries are open. The Henry's Fork, the Snake tributaries over in the Jackson area are dropping into shape and clearing and fishing. And I would start to progress my angling for latter summer into that direction. You know, I'd get my big floats, my overnights on the South Fork, you know, my dry fly fishing up here in the valley, some of my snake fishing done, and my float fishing sort of boxes checked here in the month of July and the beginning of August, because I think our fish are going to need a rest in the main stem for a little bit, and these creeks and tributaries are going to be dropped into shape. They're going to be providing cool, clean water for our trout friends, and they're going to be providing some really good fishing. So if you're starting to think that way into the latter part of summer and what you're going to do, or you're going to try to check things off the list coming in to the beginning of summer, I'd start paying attention to our creeks and tributaries. I'd pay attention to a lot of our lakes and reservoirs like Jenny Lake, Jackson Lake, you know, Island Park Reservoir, and some of those other things that can offer some really good fishing and offer some diversity in your fishing than what you normally do during a normal summer instead of a drought-oriented summer. So once again, thanks for tuning in. Have a great weekend and a safe weekend out there on the water. Fly Shop's open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day of the week. We're on full summer hours, and we're ready for you guys to stop in, say hey, pick out what you need. We'll point you in the right direction. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you here next week.